Hi everyone, today's lesson from Unit 3.1 is all about a second type of special right triangle. The other day we discussed the 45-45-90 triangle, and we discovered that the sides had a particular relationship. In today's lesson we're going to look at the second special right triangle, and it's called a 30-60-90 or a 30-60 right triangle. In the triangle at the left, the side opposite 30 degrees is the shortest side of the triangle, and the hypotenuse is the longest side. Remember, we've talked about the hypotenuse being the side opposite the 90 degrees angle, and because 90 degrees is the largest angle in the triangle, then the side opposite that has to be the longest side in the triangle. Okay, in a 30-60-90 triangle, the hypotenuse is always twice the length of the shortest side. So check this out. If I say that the side opposite 30 degrees has a length of x, that automatically means that the hypotenuse would be 2x. So that's always going to be true for a 30-60 right triangle. Okay, now that we know those two sides, let's take a second and solve for this third side, C. And notice that C is across from the 60-degree angle. Okay, so I just moved things up so we have a little bit of room to write right here. And let's use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for this third side. Okay, so we're going to set it up as c squared plus x squared is equal to the quantity of 2x squared. We need those parentheses. So we've got c squared plus x squared, and that's going to actually be equal to 4x squared. And I get that from taking the 2 and squaring it. 2 times 2 is 4. And also taking the x and squaring it. Okay, take and subtract x squared from both sides of the equation, and we'll be left with 3x squared over here. So we're going to have c squared is equal to 3x squared. All right, now think about that. We want to solve for c. What could we do to solve for c? We're actually going to take the square root of both sides of the equation. So the square root of c squared is c. The square root of x squared will give us an x out in front, and we're left with the square root of 3. So this tells us that the third side in our triangle, or the side opposite 60 degrees, will be equal to the shorter leg times the square root of 3, x square root of 3. So the ratio of the sides in a 30-60-90 triangle is x square root of 3, and 2x. All right, let's try a sample problem. What I like to do first in a 30-60 right triangle is to label my sides according to the ratio. So remember, for 30 degrees, the side opposite that gets the x. For the side opposite 60 degrees, we take that shorter leg and we multiply by the square root of 3, so x squared of 3. And then for 90 degrees, the hypotenuse, it's always 2 times the shorter leg. Okay, so let's label this thing. Let's label this triangle. So across from 30 degrees gets the x. So going across the triangle. Across from 60 degrees, that would get x square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse, that is going to end up with 2x. So on the hypotenuse, we're going to say that 16 is equal to 2x. Now check it out. We've got a little equation that we can use to solve for x. If 16 equals 2x, that must mean, if we divide by 2, that x is equal to 8. So this short leg in the triangle is equal to 8. And then this third side over here equals x squared of 3. So it will be equal to 8 square root of 3. No Pythagorean. We're going to try a couple other problems. I know they're not on your worksheet, but just take a second and let's add in 2 triangles, 2 more practice ones. So in this 30-60 right triangle, I'm going to tell you that the side opposite 30 degrees was equal to 12. Okay, so let's find the missing 2 sides. The side opposite 30 degrees is our x value. The side opposite 60 could be found by doing x times the square root of 3, and the hypotenuse is 2x. All right, so let's start with the side opposite 60 degrees. We said we can find it by taking x and multiplying by the square root of 3. So this side would be equal to 12 square root of 3. Final answer for that side. So we have two sides. And then our third side, the hypotenuse, is found by taking 2 times x. So we want to do 2 times 12. So the hypotenuse is 24. Okay, let's try one more before you start the CYU. So let's say this is our triangle. And here's 30 degrees. There's the 90, so this has to be 60. Let's say that the side opposite 60 was equal to 5 square root of 3. Okay, label the sides first. Across from 30 degrees, that gets the x. Across from 60 degrees, that would be x square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse is 2 times x. So you see, whenever I label it with x, x squared of 3, and 2x, one of those sides is going to give me an equation to solve. So 5 square root of 3 is equal to x square root of 3. We've got to take and divide both sides by the square root of 3. And that simply tells me that x is equal to 5. So this side of the triangle is 5, the short leg, and the hypotenuse has to be 2 times 5, or 10. All right, good luck on the CYU. As always, if you have questions, make sure you speak up, and then get started on the homework after the CYU.